Hi, everybody. Welcome back to She Can't Do That.
Yeah.
We have a lovely episode for
Oh
you
my
today.
gosh. So excited.
Orly Shani
Yay.
is in the house. I was fangirling a little.
I know, me too.
When I saw her, I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Yes.
A little bit like a celebrity. I've been following Orly for like 10 years or so on YouTube. She
love her DIY stuff. And
at that time, she had a DIY channel, The DIY Designer. And I've done so many of her DIYs with my daughter, without my daughter. I just did one like after the interview, like 2 days ago. I did the boots cover. Oh my God, that turned out so amazing. I have to show you. So we learn a lot in this episode. We don't just learn about Orly, which is the most fascinating thing about it, but the things she's telling us about her life. We also, for example, learn how to deal with money and what we can take for our children. Great thing her dad did.
Yeah.
Then
I'm stealing her dad's idea. Everyone should listen just for this life tip.
If you have children and you want to teach them something about money, good one. Also, that you can be most successful when you just be yourself. That sounds so superficial, but it's especially in Orly's case, so true. And also, when you listen to this episode, you're gonna know why. And I found one thing very interesting. She, I think, is the only woman I've ever met who said, "I never was in a situation where I thought I have it harder because I'm a woman."
I know. Lucky girl.
I'm like, wow. I mean, maybe she's just such a badass that she doesn't.
I think she's a badass.
Let that happen to her.
She's got a great head on her shoulders.
Yeah.
She's confident. She knows who she is. She knows what she is gifted at and what her strengths are.
Yeah.
And she's followed those, and they've led her to such great places.
And like, I'm really impressed by the ways her career created itself.
Yes,
kinda.
it was organic.
Yeah, but so many. Like, we talk about, of course, her big company, Rocknot, which I'm flaunting. Rocknot. Oh, the shirt is a DIY, by the way. That was black and white when I bought it at a thrift store. And now
you're so cool.
I'm so cool. No, that's just all Orly. That's all Orly. That's not even me. It's like, but yeah, we talk about how her company came to be.
Yeah.
How that happened. Totally unplanned. And now it's this huge success.
Yeah. She's such an inspiration for people to follow their passions, and where there's a will, there's a way. And so inspiring. Such a cool person to talk to.
Yeah, it was really fun to talk to her. So if you want to know all the answers to all these things that we just threw out here, you can listen to this interview now. We're going to go and talk about Rocknot, that amazing company that you have right now, and how it came to be, which I really love. All the other things you did in between you were born and Rocknot.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk all about all of them because we don't have like 15 hours. Like pieces.
Yeah.
But we always love to start at the beginning just to like understand you as a human.
Great.
As a woman. And I think I know that you were born in LA.
Yes, I was.
And that's very rare.
I was born in, Van Nuys, like 15 minutes from where I live now. Yeah. I know. There's not many LA natives.
No. I mean, like,
this is the most transitional city. Like, everyone is here as a transient
from somewhere,
from somewhere else, going somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it doesn't feel that way to me because like so many of my friends are my childhood friends and we all grew up here. So I'm like, what are you talking about?
And
like,
they're still here too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
I feel like it's more rare to be born and raised in LA and leave. Like, it's just that there's so many people that move here.
Yeah.
So like that's what drowns it out. But like being born and raised here, I think like you get so used to so many of the amazing things that LA has to offer. And especially when you're born here, you're not nearly as enamored with what other people are. So like you're not fazed by it. Like none of that matters. None of the Hollywood piece of it matters. You're more enamored with like the weather, the beaches. You can go snowboarding and surfing in the same day. Like you're more, it's that lifestyle that like you can't get anywhere else. And so I feel like that's more, it's like people, I moved to New York. I lived there for 10 years, but like at a certain point you're like, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm done. Like you're kind of like, and I'm going back to where it's really pretty every day. And we joke, like we're like, my whole family jokes. Like I wish we were from somewhere different so we could move somewhere different. But like, why would we leave our family? Why would we leave our life here? Like, why would we do that? But like part of us is like, man, it would be nice to like go to Texas where you can buy a house for like $100,000. And like, just imagine.
Yeah.
Because my brother's 5 years younger than me, and he's like dying to buy a house. And he's like, I am looking at these stupid listings in Tennessee. Like and he's like, like, what would the point? I like literally buy a house, but then I'm in it alone.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody I know.
Yeah.
He's like, all my friends, all my family's in LA. Like, what am I gonna? So,
Yeah.
in that sense, it's like you stay because all your people are here too,
Yeah, my husband's from Cincinnati, but I don't want to. No.
Yeah. I feel you. No, listen, I love Los Angeles. I think it is such an incredible place. I think the people are incredible. They surprise me all the time. Like all the time. I think that a lot of people take shots at it, and I'm like, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, go back. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you don't get it. Because I have been endlessly surprised by incredible, beautiful people all the time. I feel like the fires were a really great example of that. Like the way that people came together. That's like when the city shows you what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, this is really what the city is made of. It is not made of stars and this and that. It's made up of like everyday people working in these everyday jobs, doing everyday things with their family, caring about their neighbors, just trying to like get through it and enjoy life and get some sunshine and get to the beach. Like it's not that
And there might
serious.
be a Jennifer Garner in between the people who are like donating stuff.
Sure.
Normal person,
Right, exactly.
Just a normal person.
Yeah.
She just has this job that we glamorize like crazy, but she's also just a normal person with a little bit more money than we. But still, she's out there organizing like freaking sweaters.
But and you can be, and that's the thing too, like it's like you can be a normal person and have all the monies. Right? Like you can. And the idea that you can't, I think, is what gets in the way of a lot of us accomplishing stuff, because we don't want to become an asshole.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, we don't want to become some selfish prick who puts ourselves above everybody else. So we get in our own way of accomplishing huge, great things because like, well, rich people are assholes.
Yeah.
But like, I know so many incredibly wealthy, like mind-boggling wealthy people that are the most kind, generous, mellow, easygoing people I know.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And like, so we create this story around that as though they lose their humanity when they get another zero. It's like, you don't, some people are assholes. They were assholes when they were in high school, and they're assholes now that they have 3 more zeros. Like, that's who they were.
Now they can. Now
they
can get it. Now they still
exactly.
have friends because they have money.
Yeah.
But they're still an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I don't know. I just think,
That's one thing that Dax Shepard also said. He's like my favorite podcast of all podcasts on this planet. And I don't know if I'm like quoting him too much in my life. Like my husband
he's a quotable dude.
Pretty sick of him. I'm with you. Things like, Dax Shepard. And he's like, oh my God.
Here we go again.
Dax Shepard again. But he said the same thing. It's like he had this hatred towards rich people. And he's like, and now I have to come to terms with it because now I am one of those.
Yes.
Like, I'm famous and I'm rich. But these people were always like the biggest douchebags on the planet, the famous rich people. They were just, all of them were assholes.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here and I'm one of those. Like,
it gets lost. It's a bummer.
Well, I love hearing about the side of LA that's not like everyone's an actor or an actress or
yeah.
How was this in your childhood and your school years? Like, how was your upbringing in LA?
I mean, awesome. My parents were both entrepreneurs. My dad moved to the US from Israel when he finished the army, right around 22 years old, probably 21, 22, moved actually to Chicago, where he had a friend and didn't speak English, took English classes at night and was trying to learn the language, and eventually moved out to Los Angeles and started his business. He had a wallpaper and paint business. And, he's like the epitome of the American dream. He got his citizenship. He started this business, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew into this epic company. I mean, really just such an incredible thing. And so we grew up in a really beautiful town. Calabasas is a really amazing town. They moved there because the schools were really good. But while we were growing up, it just it was very different from when we first moved to like when we graduated. Like it really went through a big evolution. They were attracted there because the schools were so good. But my mom was born and raised here, and she is an entrepreneur, a creative. My grandmother's an artist, and that got sort of passed down to all of us. And so my mom was a general contractor, and she would do home renovations and do jobs for family and, you know, different investments that her and my dad had. And so I think like growing up, I felt very different from everyone else in Calabasas.
How?
Like the reputation that it got was very like spoiled rich kid was the reputation of Calabasas.
Yeah.
Like the joke was always that you knew the student parking lot versus the staff parking lot because the student parking lot had BMWs and Range Rovers and the staff had Toyota Corollas. Like it was, I didn't have pride being from Calabasas. I felt like I had to apologize for it. I had to be like, don't judge me, but I'm from Calabasas. Like I just thought people were going to think I was something I wasn't. And we were not, my dad and my parents both made sure we were not those kind of kids. And my dad had a real awareness of the fact that we had so much more than he had. And he wanted us to be able to benefit from all the hard work he did, but not suffer from it, like in our own lives as adults later. And so he did a lot to really like work ethic and ensure that we understood the value of money and hard work. And I feel like me, my sister, my brother, we are crazy hardworking, like hustlers. Like our work ethic is like a big pride point for all three of us. And I think that's really like my parents were very specific about that and instilling that in us. And so it was great schools. I played sports. I had a really easy time socially. Like school was just like a breeze for me. But I just didn't feel like I belonged there. Like I moved to New York at 19. Like as soon as I could move, I moved because the bubble of Calabasas, the bubble that was my existence of LA was not me. It didn't feel like me at all.
Yeah.
And so it was all fine. It was all great. It was all really like idyllic and like can't complain at all, really. I was very lucky. School came easy. Like it was just all very easy.
Did you have a big friend circle, or did you not feel with that? You also felt like those are not my people, or they don't accept me, or like what?
I was then like I am now. I have incredible friends, but I am not a group person. I tend to find that people are not their best selves in groups. I don't like groupthink. I don't like the fact that in order to be a part of this thing, we all have to co-sign the same views. Like we are unique individual people. The chances of us all thinking the same way about everything is slim to none. So if we all have to like function as this unit, there's too many of us sacrificing who we are to be a part. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So like the groups of girls, I wanted nothing to do with. So like I had a lot of friends. I was like, quote unquote, popular, but I was not a group of friends. I had like one over here, one over here, one over here. And I've always been like that to the point that like I can't have birthday parties because no one knows each other.
They don't have anything to do with each other.
No one knows each other.
Yeah,
you know,
totally
like,
get that.
and so I always have like 7 different random nights with different groups to celebrate my birthday because it's too stressful for me to be like, so you guys like, so let me explain how you guys know it. Like, yeah. But I've always kind of been like that. Because I just felt like there was a lot of bad behavior when people got together as a big group. And so it just wasn't something that I wanted to like sort of do. Yeah.
I learned that the very hard way last 1.5 years ago.
How?
That groups can't, like that it's possible that groups don't work out.
Yeah, well, you can, and there's so many examples of it in like society and culture. Where like that mob mentality, you see people do things in a group they would never do individually. And that's, I think, what I always sort of saw as like a kid was like, you can see that thing. It's even, this is such a weird example, but we have this huge festival at my kids' school. And they've been doing it for 30 years. And it's this like huge thing and everyone knows about it. People come from all over to come to this festival. And in the last few years, it's gotten really out of hand with middle school age kids. Their parents drop them off and it's like a night out and they have no parents, they have no anything. And it's probably like 1,000 13-year-olds. And that that age.
So it's like playing with fire, I feel like.
Well, and we had to like really change things for like with security and like everything had to change because it got really, really scary. And you can feel, it's a literal, palpable energy in the air.
Yeah.
It almost, I could only compare it to like a zombie movie when all of a sudden everybody looks like they click into some force, into some energy, and they're all a part of it. And you can literally feel it, and it is unnerving, and it is scary, and they move as a unit, as a swarm, and there were fights, and and it was like, and I still don't know how to explain it in the way that you could feel it, but it literally felt like a thickness in the air that I could have grabbed and touched.
Yeah.
It was so palpable, and they all just like, it looks like they all plugged into it, and all of a sudden they were all just moving as this mass of too many young people with no parents to like unplug them, you know? And
change the dial on the frequency.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that you can see that in moments, in large crowds, in even social media movements when everyone piles on.
Totally.
There's this thing, it takes over.
Yeah.
And so I have just found that anytime I see a blind following of something, it's to me always a giant red flag to dig deeper, because like there's something going on. Why is everyone just piling on? Like what's happening? What is this really about? You know? And so I tend to like burrow down and try to figure out what it's about, because it's just weird to me.
Okay, so you went to New York. You're very independent, obviously. Did you have a connection to New York that drew you there, or did you have like a goal to accomplish there?
No, well, no, I had no connection. I didn't know anybody. New York was New York. Like,
you wanted to get out of your bubble.
Simple as that. Yeah. It was just exciting, and New York was New York. Yeah. I just wanted to go. The real story though, aside from that,
please give me the real story.
is that, so when I was in high school, I was acting.
Okay.
Fairly unsuccessfully, auditioning, like doing whatever. Industry was very different at the time. You would get like, you know, a phone call from your agent with like 7 auditions for the week, and you would go to auditions. I mean, it's like nothing like that anymore. But so it was fun. It was fun. I had like acting classes on the weekends, and I would audition after school. It was like a cool thing or whatever. But I was frustrated at the lack of control. I didn't like that, like, you could end up not getting the part because like your hair color is wrong. Like, I just didn't like that you like, you have like no real control over anything. So I thought about going to school for directing, because I was like, oh, I love the idea of being able to like tell a story, and I could tell the story I want to tell, and I could have more control. And because I just liked the creative storytelling aspect of film and television was cool to me. And so directing was another cool way to potentially be involved in it. And so I was looking into going to film school here after high school. I knew I wasn't going to go to college. And so I was like going to be acting, but like, what else could I do? And then when I was 18, right after I graduated high school, I got a DUI. And it was the worst. I mean, the best thing that ever happened to me, but like the worst thing.
Yeah.
Like, I have never been so ashamed, so humiliated, just so disgusted. The whole thing was so bad. And I lost my license for a year. And just like you said, what do you do in Los Angeles
right?
Yes.
without a car? You do nothing is what you do.
You can't.
And so in my mind, I thought, you know, I'm gonna go somewhere that I don't need a car. And instead of losing a year, I'm gonna gain a year. And I'm gonna go to New York. And so I moved to New York.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. And it was the best thing ever. And there was still stuff I had to do. Like, you know, when you get a DUI, there are requirements. You have to do like AA classes. You have to like go to the morgue. You have to go to Moms Against Drunk Driving. You have to listen to parents who lost their kids from drunk driving accidents. Like, there's stuff you rightfully so have to do in order to like be okay
and
to like
cleared.
Yes, to like eventually get your license back and do all those things. So I'd had all that stuff transferred to New York. And so I was doing like AA classes in like random East Village basements when I moved to New York. But I moved and I took the same film program I was going to do in LA, and I did it in New York.
Okay.
And and that's what ultimately prompted the move. It was a place I always wanted to move, but sometimes something like catapults you.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like,
no, I love that.
yeah.
And it makes so much sense because
Totally.
you don't need a car in New York.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
other city in America is extreme like that, where you're like, well, it's not even practical to have a car in New York, so let's just go there.
Truthfully, like there's so many like people who are born and raised in Manhattan who have literally don't have a license and don't know how to drive.
Yeah.
They're like,
why?
Why would I have ever needed
so
that?
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It was amazing. It was absolutely the best decision I made.
How did you finance New York?
So when I first moved, I had always had a job. So from the age you could get a worker's permit in Los Angeles, which is 15, I got a job. So I always had a job. And one of the coolest things that my dad did, which like I'm 100% doing this for my kids and anyone listening, if you are in a position to do this for your kids, if you are lucky enough, please do this. When we turned 16 and got our license, he, co-signed the lease on a sensible car. We got like a Honda Civic, great car, new car, but like a Honda Civic. And he put the like $1,500 down payment, whatever the car payment was, which I think at the time was like $250, we paid. And so every month it was like either a cash or a check on his keyboard or the keys. So like one or the other. Like, you want to keep driving the car, the money's got to be there. You don't have the money, you don't get the car. So I put the money, every month we had paid the amount. And when I graduated high school, my dad handed over a savings account with the $250 a month that I had done over those 2.5
That is so great.
Because he didn't need the money, but he needed to teach me how to have a payment.
Yeah.
And like there was the lesson of money and the lesson of working. You want a car, you got to get a job. And you take off that night, you don't have enough money, you don't get the car. What do you want to do? You want to work or you want to go out with your friends? Like, what do you want to do? So it was so freaking good.
That.
And then it also taught me the lesson of saving. $250 a month. And I had thousands of dollars in a savings account.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was like, and I got like obsessed with saving because it was like something to jumpstart. Now I was building. I wasn't building from zero. I was building from like $8,000. That was exciting, Yeah. So I had money saved.
But I mean, $8,000 gets you like a week in New York.
Well, not really,
like
because
now.
I got a job the minute I moved, right? So it's the same thing. Like working is not an option. And the film school that I went to had a lot of European people coming to the film school, and they had a lot of money and they did not have to work. I was the only kid in the class who worked. And we found an apartment. My mom moved with me, helped me look for an apartment. I found an apartment that was in Chelsea. It was with the old, like the garment district used to be over there, factories and stuff. And so it was an old warehouse building that got converted into apartments. And it was one apartment with 5 bedrooms and 5 leases inside the apartment. And I ended up with these 4 incredible chicks. Like, I don't even know how I got so lucky. These 4 young girls, all completely different, musicians and teachers and yoga teachers, like just like the coolest women
so fun.
in this apartment, completely by luck. Like there was no like get to know each other or you guys are good. It was just like, I haven't rented that room out yet. And then it's like, Joanne rented the room, and like Joanne walks in, you're like, hi. Like it was like, and Joanne was from Australia, and she had this pixie bright blonde cut, and she was so fucking cute. It was just amazing. The whole thing was amazing.
Oh my God.
So I got into this apartment, and my rent was $795 a month for this room. And I got a job off Craigslist as a Jell-O shot waitress because it was the only thing that was only at night and was like 10 o'clock to 4 a.m. And I had school during the day. So like, that's all I could do. And I made a crap load of money. And I left New York with more money in savings than when I went.
Oh my gosh.
Which was insane. As like a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I mean, I stayed for a year and a half and then came home for a little bit and then went back and stayed a total of about 10 years in New York.
I wish somebody would have taught me about money.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, I'm
That's
so still not able to manage money correctly. It's just like, I want to do it differently with my daughter too. It's just, that is so cool. I mean, somebody
really
who gets
great.
out of New York and is not completely broke and in debt.
No, it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible because I was for the first, I mean, my parents still helped me in like, they were covering my health insurance, my phone bill. Like I was not like a person with no parents still. I was still a very lucky 19-year-old with very supportive parents, knowing that if shit went south, they were going to send me money if I needed it. So like I was still born on third base, like way ahead of the game in that regard. But it was the first time that I had groceries and rent and going out and like paying for the film for school. Like we had to buy film for school, like paying for lunch in the middle of school. There was no like packed lunch from my mom, you know, like just all the things, right? Like the first time. And I remember so vividly, there was a Gristedes, which is like the market in New York, that I haven't seen anywhere other than New York City. And it was like a 4-block walk from my apartment, Avenue walk. So a pretty legit walk. And I would go and I had a $30 a week grocery list. And it would be whatever I could hold in my hands because I wasn't going to waste money on a cab back. So it was weekly and it was like enough stuff to make. I had like a salad I made every day at school for lunch and cereal and milk. And like it was a set thing that I had in these 2 bags I could carry in my hands every single week. And it was like $30 every time. And like, you know, it's like I think about it now and I'm like, first of all, what I would give for a $30 grocery bill.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
I can't leave the grocery store without spending more than $30.
Yeah, right. $30 is you decide to run in for like Chips Ahoy or something. Yeah. You're like, these are 30? Well, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, but so like little things like that where it was just like budgeting and you know, and I got lucky with making a good amount of money where I worked. It was tip related and I just did really well. So I was in a good spot. And then even in that way, because I started working in restaurants and bars, which I had always done, that was my job when I was 15, you're then in that world of people who work in restaurants and bars. And so going out costs nothing because you go visit everyone that's working. So like you're not going to a bar and paying a couple $100 every night. You're going to where
your friends are.
Ryan's working a night and you're going over there and you're sitting at the bar and he's just like handing you beer.
Yeah.
You know, and so like even that, like I wasn't spending as much money as friends because I was like working and then hanging out where I worked or going to another bar where a friend worked. And so I got really lucky, but yeah.
What was your dream at that time to like become? Did you have an end goal? Did you have a big goal in mind?
So I had always done sort of 2 things, and it's still the case. I had done entertainment stuff, performer type stuff, and fashion designing type stuff. So when I was in high school, I had a clothing line where I would take vintage clothing and I would upcycle it to reflect like current trends. And each piece was one of a kind. And I sold to this really cool boutique in LA and I sold to a couple of stores and I would do these little pop-up shops and flea markets and stuff like that. And so that was part of what I had done and always wanted to do. And then the film stuff and kind of wanting to do that. And so in the time when I went home from New York after film school was over, I was pursuing more of the entertainment stuff. And so I got a job as an intern at a production company and was a PA on sets and was basically PAing on, which is production assistant, PAing on as many sets as I could to really see what it was like. And I'd say after about 6 months, it became very clear that directing was not in practice what it seemed like in theory. And I had like 0 interest.
What did you think it was and what was it?
I think I just thought it was this very creative process. And it was not. It did not appear to be that. It appeared to me almost as though like so many other people were making those creative decisions. And granted, I was a PA where I was not seeing behind the scenes. I was not seeing the year of pre-production that went into place to make sure that you had all of these different people to be able to do the things that you then didn't have to do. But I remember being like on a commercial set and the director, from the way that it was explained to me on that set, is that like really it's the ad agency that's the director. The director is there to fulfill the ad agency's goals. So like the director's not really the director on commercials. They are on other things, but commercials, it's the ad agency. They're standing there behind the thing and they're the one telling you, that didn't work. We got to do it like this. They get the final say. They are the director. And so I think I'd started doing a bunch of things where I was just kind of like, man, this is not this like cool, loose, creative, magical thing. This is like tedious and clinical and like, ugh. Like I just wasn't
executing somebody else's vision.
It felt like that. Yeah, like I would look at the DP, who's the director of photography, and like they're setting up the shots. Like I imagined in my naive mind, like the director was like setting up. No, the director shares the vision with the DP and the DP then is setting the shots and coordinating the lighting and communicating the cinematographer. Like there's so many roles. There has to be so many roles in order to pull off a film. Like it's a huge endeavor. But I think that when I actually saw it in practice, it felt like managing many roles that I thought you got to get your hands dirty and do.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, I don't know.
Maybe in film and TV it's the same thing with commercials, almost because there are so many people involved who also bring money, so they have a saying.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I pay for this, so
Yes.
I would like to look it like this, and there goes the creativity of the director.
Right.
It's like, well, I need this person paying for this. So
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it from a logistical standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Like if
Yeah,
I think
it
about
does.
it with my business, Rocknot, if I spent, let's say $50,000 to hire some incredible marketing agency, an ad agency to put together like my first ever commercial, we go through for months, we fine tune it, we know exactly what it's going to be. We get on set, we have a director to pull it all off, and he wants to change it. Excuse me, guy.
No.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing. We've been doing this now for 6 months. Like you don't get to come. And like, so that's what I was seeing is like they were sort of handcuffed. They were there to execute the vision that had been decided before they got there. And so they weren't really the visionary.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, specific situations, different sets, different things. But I think the experience that I was having it didn't seem like what I wanted. And I thought, gosh, to get to that place, it's going to be so many years of doing so many jobs, and it doesn't even look like the end goal is the goal. So like, why would I? So maybe not. And so I think at that point, I just sort of started feeling like it wasn't really something I wanted to do. And I started pursuing more of the fashion piece of it all and kind of focusing more on that. And when I moved back to New York, I ended up getting cast on a show called Fashion Star, which was a design competition show on NBC. And then that kind of led me into the career that I've been in now for quite some time, which has been this sort of style-focused content, designing and creating and sharing it in all different.
What did they do on Fashion Star? Did you design, create, style?
Yeah. So Fashion Star was like Project Runway on steroids, basically. It was actually very cool and ahead of its time. But essentially what it was is it was actually like if you imagine The Voice meets Project Runway, because it was a big shiny floor competition show, big stage. Elle Macpherson was the host. We had mentors like The Voice. It was Nicole Richie, Jessica Simpson, John Varvatos were like the mentors. There were 14, maybe more designers that were contestants. And then the judges were buyers from H&M, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Macy's. And we would present.
So cool.
Very cool. Very ahead of its time. It was too early, which is why it didn't work. But we would present designs down the runway and they would get bid on. And then they were in stores the next day because we had shot it 6 months prior. So then like that night you could then go buy the thing that you had just watched.
Oh my God. Did you have stuff in
I
stores
did.
then?
I did.
Like,
yeah. In
No way.
in Saks and H&M. Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool.
How
And like I
old
saw
were
it in
you
the
at
window.
this time?
I was married.
mid-20s? Oh,
So 27 maybe. I didn't have kids yet, but I was
Yeah.
married. So 26 or 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you made it? I would have felt like, oh my gosh, I made
Well,
it.
you know
My
what's so
stuff is
funny?
in Saks.
So like one of my favorite people from that show, who is still one of my closest friends, Zamiro, he and I became super close on the show, and he lived in the city. And so when the show was over, we had this shared secret because we had 6 months before it was going to come out.
Oh yeah.
And so like he would come into the bar all the time and I started bartending afterwards, and that was really my job for basically the 10 years that I lived in New York. I was a bartender. I didn't make any money doing any of the other things that I was pursuing. It was strictly bartending. And so Zamiro would come in to Bounce, the bar that I worked at on the Upper East Side, and he would come sit and hang out or whatever. And I remember so vividly, he and I were on subway going somewhere to go like hang out, go meet with friends or whatever. And we were like, isn't it crazy that like in like 3 months, we're not going to be able to be on this subway. It's going to be pandemonium. Because like they on set, the producers were like, your lives are about to change. Like, are you guys ready for this? This is going to be crazy. This is NBC.
Yeah.
This is Jessica Simpson,
This is
Nicole
like
Richie,
prime
Elle Macpherson,
time.
Macy's. Like, oh my God. I am not exaggerating when I tell you I bartended through the finale with the finale on the TV behind me. Not a damn thing changed in my life. Not a thing.
Oh,
literally not a thing.
That's
We were like,
wild.
Zamiro and I were both sitting there at the bar. Like I'm drinking, he's drinking, and literally the finale's on the TV behind us. And we're like,
No.
nobody fucking
This
cares.
is so anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was
I'm
just
so
like,
upset for you.
wah. Like, and that's the thing, like, the show, you never know what's gonna work.
No, you don't.
You never know. And I think the reason that Fashion Star didn't work, honestly, was that it was too shiny. You couldn't connect. Like what Project Runway does really well is like you're in it with them. You feel like you're in that room with them. You're working with them. You get to know them. You are, and that's why it's been around for 2,900 years. Like there is something intimate about that show that people buy into, something very authentic about it. Fashion Star was too shiny. It was too big, too many big names, too many big brands. They would do like performances at the beginning, like with like acrobatics. Like it was so big that I just don't think anyone could lock in. They couldn't get invested in us enough to really care who won. Like it didn't.
I was just going to ask, was there like a winner and who was the winner?
Cara Larix won season 1. They did a season 2. And I'm blanking on Hunter Bell, I think was season 2. But Cara, was awesome. She had this very like androgynous, like all her pieces were meant for sort of that could work for anybody.
Yeah.
And Zamira was in the finale. I got cut the episode before the finale. And this guy named Ronnie. The 3 of them were in the finale. And what they got was, I'm trying to remember now. I think it was like $100,000 to launch their collection. Was like the like
Did
the
they?
thing.
That would have been
Did they
pretty
launch
life-changing.
Cara, I think did. But I don't know if how it.
Yeah.
I don't know if she got the support that she would have needed. Like 100,000 is nothing
No.
to launch a brand. If you're really talking
True.
about competing, like, so she would have needed like 100 grand plus real support. And I don't know how that worked. I didn't win. So like I wasn't part of that.
Yeah.
But we, you know, we got paid. Like when our designs got bought, we got paid for those designs, which was really cool. And like you would have gone on that show for free. And we got like a check afterwards for like the designs that sold. It was really exciting. Like
That is
the whole
so
thing was
cool.
very cool. And then season 2, I got hired to be like a backstage correspondent, which was what started my hosting career because I had never hosted anything before. And they were basically like, you were the sort of quote unquote like fan favorite. And so like you'd be the perfect person to do like a backstage thing and try to, because they were aware at that point they had a problem.
Yeah.
That the show was too big.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you could be this voice that connects the like relatable part of it to the big part of it.
Yeah.
And so I did this really fun series called The Unexpected Insider. And it was really cool. It was sponsored by Suave, which was like the hair sponsor, you know, the hair brand that sponsored the show. And we did all these interviews and I got to interview like really cool people and you know, and it was really, really fun. And it showed me a new career path a little bit because I realized while I may not have been any good at acting, I was still very good on camera. I just couldn't pretend like I was someone else. Like I'm very good at being exactly me on camera.
Totally makes sense. Yeah.
And so hosting, it was really like an aha moment of like, oh, I think I get it. I think I get why I liked it. And I think I get why it never worked. You know, like I know why I liked being on camera because this feels good.
Yeah.
But I get why it never worked.
Yeah.
Because I
don't want to pretend to be somebody else.
It's so funny. I feel like there, from just knowing you from the outside or now like a little bit, I feel like there are so many things in your career or in your life that just happened organically, which is most of the time the best way. Because I wanted to be exactly that. I wanted to be a fashion host. So I studied fashion design. I went to fashion school, studied fashion design, wanted to become a costume designer in film to then have the credibility to be a host on a fashion TV show. So I actually just wanted to be on camera. But as we women are, we need something that like I have, like, I can be here because, you know, I have a reason that I'm here. I'm not just like a TV host.
Exactly.
I have a right to be here because I studied fashion design. I was a costume designer. I was a stylist. So I have a right to be here. You know, you probably can relate to that.
Absolutely.
We always need to explain why we are where we are.
A qualifier of some sort.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is so funny that it came so organically to you. And I was like, bending over backwards, and I would have killed people to do, and it did not happen the way I wanted it to happen. Like the same thing with Rocknot, which we are going to get to.
Yes.
But did you ever, like before you became that host personality, did you want to be like a fashion designer?
I mean, that I feel like was a piece of my dream always. You know, like I always made clothes. And I always was sewing and cutting and creating from like a really young age. So it was always something that I did.
Yeah, me too.
But I think, what'd you say?
Me too.
You too, yeah.
Yeah, it started with my making clothes for my dolls and then making clothes for myself because I wanted something specific that I couldn't afford.
Yes. That's
so
exactly.
I had to make it myself.
That's exactly what it was for me too.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. I wanted to customize things. I have always had a real obsession with being one of a kind. I just don't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a comparable at all.
Yeah.
Like I want to be an adjective. I want, it's like Orly's her own thing, like she's her own beast, like whatever. You know, like I just didn't. So to me, it was even as simple as like my first job. I worked at a restaurant called Sagebrush Cantina, and we had these t-shirts we had to wear, and I would cut them and turn them into tank tops and use my serger, which creates like the whatever shirt any of you are wearing right now, it's most likely the stitch on the inside of the shirt where it looks like 1,000 zigzags. I could do it on the outside of my shirt. So I would do it in like a contrasting color on the outside. And everyone would ask, where are those shirts sold? I'm like, oh, it's just one of our shirts, but I just like cut it up. And they're like, that's so cool. You make them. I'm like, no, I won't. They're mine. And I mean, I made them for like the other girls working there. Yeah. I made some for the other girls working there and stuff, but that was it for me. I liked the customization, the personalization of making my own clothing. I liked the way that felt. And so I think that's actually a big reason why anytime I had pursued a collection and having a business, it didn't work. Because I think I was so obsessed with the idea that like you deserve exactly what you need to make you feel great. And you deserve exactly what you need to make you feel great. So how the F am I going to design something for both of you? And so everything I did, I was sort of obsessed with it being this and this. And so it lacked vision because I was too consumed with it. Because it's the only thing I care about. I do not care about if it's cool, if it's that, I don't. But like, do you and you uniquely feel wonderful? Cool. That's the only thing that I care about. So I think that's actually why I was not really any good as a clothing designer because there were too many options and there were too many people that I wanted to feel great. It wasn't even about pleasing too many people. It was like, what am I doing if it doesn't make you feel great? So
how
like,
about a stylist? Did you think about that?
No.
A stylist or like celebrity stylist or whatever?
No, I never had a desire to be a stylist because I didn't feel like I knew a lot about fashion, really. I knew what I liked, but I wasn't like, oh, the colors for 2025. Yeah. Like, I didn't know, who the fuck knows? I didn't know how to pronounce designer names. Like, I had to Google, like, how do you pronounce, and like type in the name and like try to listen. Like, I was not that girl. So I didn't want to pretend to be that girl. I was not an authority on what's in or what designers or what trends, like body shape. I know my body. That's about it. Like, I was not that girl. So I never wanted to do that. But I loved fashion and I loved creating. And so the natural thing was always to try to start a clothing line, and they just didn't work. Anytime I had the one in high school, and aside from being carried by like that one store, like that kind of died on the vine. It didn't really work. I had a collection coming off of Fashion Star called Tuck and West, and that didn't really do anything. Like it wasn't working because I don't think I was ever supposed to be a clothing designer. You know, it was too many options.
But that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me now. Right? At the time,
my God,
I
so
was
many
like,
things make sense afterwards, right? It was like,
it's the freaking worst.
That's like...
Life makes sense in reverse.
Yeah.
And then so many things that didn't work in your life, like...
You think, thank God.
Exactly. Like, I would not be here if the last 3 years in Germany would have been better in my hosting career. Like, I was running from show to show to show, like audition to audition. I didn't get anything for like 3 years. I didn't get anything. So it was like, okay, let's put more energy in that dream to move to America. If I would have gotten any of these shows, I would have not. And I'm so freaking happy I'm here.
Yeah.
So it's like, thanks that nothing worked out for these 3 years.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly
but
right.
then you found a little bit of like your perfect mix of things. Like you had the fashion thing, you had when you were the backstage reporter.
Yeah.
Let's call it that way. What came after that?
So kind of just like you said, everything sort of happened on accident. Everything has happened on accident, including Rock Knot. It's all happened on accident. But like, so I did The Unexpected Insider. I found out the first day of filming that I was pregnant. And by the time I was 8 months pregnant, I was meeting with Annie Roberts at E! They were talking about that they were having a new show that they were casting that was going to be like a fashion talk show. And they thought I could potentially be like a guest expert, like a recurring expert or whatever. I had Connor, and he was maybe 6 weeks old when I flew to New York for the chemistry tests for them. And I'm in a room with Chrissy Teigen and Kristen Cavallari and all these like beautiful women who I'm like, oh my God, Coco Rocha, like supermodel, like just these epic people. And literally I have like marbles in my boobs because I'm like nursing, and I'm like trying not to leave and trying not to do anything. And I've got my mother-in-law at a hotel with my son, like, you know, just really trying to pretend like I deserve to be in this room. And I kept staying in it and staying in it and staying in it. And then I ended up not getting it, and it went to 2 other people, but they wanted me to be on the pilot as a guest. And I'm like, cool, I get it. Like, I'm not a big enough name, which has been like the name of the game my whole career. So I'm like, been there, done that. I totally get it. So we shoot the pilot, and it's like, no, it's not working. Like, the chemistry is not right. The dynamic's not working. And I get a call like 2 weeks later from the director, the producer of the show, saying like, it's very rare in life that you get to make the fun call. And he's like, this is the fun call. And he's like, we're going to make a little casting change and you're the new host.
No way.
I seriously like, I think I peed a little when he told me. I was like, what? And he's like, it's just, you just really knocked it out of the park. He's like, you just killed it. And it was like, he's like, you were my, and it was very sweet. He's like, you were my choice in the beginning, but I lost. But once they saw you do your thing, they were like, all right, I get it. Which was very, very cool, because at that point, it made perfect sense to me that I wasn't chosen. I was not a big enough name, and it made perfect sense. And so then I ended up having the show with Kristen Cavallari, who, like, BT Dubs is the most wonderful, amazing girl in the world. If you ever get a chance to work with her, meet her, you will be better for it. She's wonderful. And she and I hosted this show on E! That was called The Fabulist, and it was like a fashion comedy talk show. And we would have guests on, and we would talk about trends, and are they in, are they out? Like, what's the deal? It only did 1 season. It didn't end up coming back. And then I ended up staying at E! Under like an overall contract where I was just basically like E! talent to be used at different things. And I did like Fashion Police with Joan Rivers, fucking icon. And like Live from the Red Carpet. I would do like the Oscars and like, I mean, things that I had dreamed about. Like E! was what was interesting about E! is it was a network that as a kid was like a pinch me moment, that I was there in a gown holding a microphone with an E! on it. Like, I could not believe it. But I had yet to embrace and own that I was not that girl. I had to look up how to say the names. I did not know the designers. I had to study like I was studying for a history test to prepare to do the red carpet. And I don't think I had the wherewithal at that time to like pitch myself as this sort of audience voice. Like, I'm like you, I don't know what any of this is either, but isn't it like the coolest dress you've ever seen? Like, that would have been cool. That would have been way more me had I been able to pitch myself that way. But I had never seen that version on camera yet. And so the only thing to do was to like be the E-bot.
They were not ready for that.
They probably wouldn't have accepted it, and I wouldn't have done it convincingly enough.
Yeah.
Because I would have
it
been
was
like,
more like they were hosts, and now they're personalities. Like,
yes.
And it's a different thing.
I was there at the time of Juliana.
Yes.
Right? And like Juliana Rancic is like a rock star of a host. I mean, she's an absolute pro. And like, that's what I was walking into. So I was like, how do you put on the E thing? It was, you know, Ryan and Juliana. Yeah. So it's like, okay, what's that thing?
Yeah.
And so it was just, it wasn't like the right fit really.
And that's exactly the story that I was talking to we were talking about you. I'm sorry. No, I mean, we do our research for interviews. No, but I was telling her the story that you told once about you being on the red carpet, and you said you felt like a fraud.
Oh, completely.
And I said to Taryn,
love that honesty, though.
That's
because we as
all,
women all feel
for
that.
the honesty. And then I said to her, this is such a typical freaking female thing.
Yes.
Because if you would plug Kevin whoever from the couch who just watched 15 years of football and you would tell him, hey, can you go on the sideline next game and do like a football commentary?
He'd be like, what took you so long?
Exactly. He would not in a second think he would not belong there.
No.
It was like, of course, I know everything, even if he wouldn't. Doesn't matter. It's this typical woman thing is like, I'm not 100% aware of everything. I don't know 100% everything. I don't belong here.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. I think so much of it is wrapped into that, is wrapped into our experience as women. I think a lot of it is age. Like now that I'm 40, I really I feel unfuckable with. Like, and I did not feel that in my late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
I assumed you were right.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. I just assume we don't agree. That's all right. Like no one's right. Like, so there's so much more confidence in my own everything. I'm like there is no right now is what I think. There is no right. There is no determined way that this is supposed to look. We're creating it. This episode didn't need to look like anything. The three of us right now are creating it. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Like everything I do, I look at like that now. So I think had I been given the same opportunity now, I would have carved out a unique path for myself, but I didn't. I figured there's a path and I have to walk down it if I want to be here. I didn't have the confidence enough to be like, no, there's no right way. No one knows what they're doing, by the way. Right. No one knows what they're doing.
I know. Everybody is unsure of themselves. Yeah. Everybody is like, I don't know if I'm good enough.
And that's a perfect example of, I think, what's going on in the entertainment industry right now is nobody knows what they're doing. So nobody's confident to take a risk, which is why all you're seeing are remakes and reboots. And this is like every word in the industry right now, which just makes me want to rip my hair out, quote unquote, existing IP. Existing intellectual property. If it didn't already exist, we're not interested.
Yeah.
Because it's scary, because that means that you're going out on a ledge and you're advocating for some kooky show that no one's ever seen. And what if it fails? You could get fired. Nobody knows what they're doing enough and is confident enough to stick with it, which is why it's just this, it's this, around and around in a circle, the same ideas over and over again, over and over again. And it just proves that you're like, all these people in these big positions are just normal people.
Yeah.
And they don't actually know what they're doing. They're just trying their best. And there's something really liberating in that. You're like, okay, I might be Zooming from my bedroom and you're in your fancy schmancy corporate office, but like deep down, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, we both don't have a clue.
Neither one of us is really sure what's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
But at that age, you didn't have that knowledge. No. You didn't have that confidence and all these things. Yeah,
not at all.
That's true. That's like also an age thing.
It's
an age thing, and it's a woman thing. And do you remember the statistic?
I don't remember the statistic, but Cecilina Gracie, I don't know if you know her. She's a jiu-jitsu superwoman. She's the jiu-jitsu coach of my daughter and me. And she is like, Kristen Bell said she's the closest what comes to superwoman. Like
amazing.
Like superwoman, and then there's Cecilina Gracie.
Amazing.
But she said, I don't know the numbers, and we have to talk to her about it once we have her as a guest. But she said there's something about women apply to jobs, or like men apply to jobs where they're like 40%
underqualified.
They might meet 40% of the qualification.
And women apply to jobs where they're like 90 to 100% fit the criteria.
I think that's...
Why is that?
Yeah.
It's so insane that we don't give ourselves these opportunities as women because we don't think we're qualified. And if we only knew, like, we are qualified to be there. Everyone is just kind of faking it till we making it. Like, everyone's in the same boat.
If we're in the position, we have to like prove ourselves so much more that we belong there?
I don't know. You know, I'm sure there's a million reasons. I'm sure it's not one thing why we see it that way. And I think probably a lot of it is self-inflicted. We believe that people are going to look at us a certain way if we don't accomplish. And will they? I don't know. Maybe not. It might be us thinking, assuming, you know, God forbid someone doesn't like me. God forbid someone thinks I did a bad job. God forbid they're having lunch out and talking shit about me. Okay. A guy's going to be like, go, you losers. Go talk shit about me. Like, I care.
I
like,
think
there's that. There's a people-pleasing to it. We've got to be the best to ever have done it if we're going to get the chance. You know, I think there's a million reasons, I'm sure.
Did you ever have the situation where our podcast title, She Can't Do That, came in and where you felt like, I have it so much harder because I'm a woman?
No. I really have never felt like being a woman got in the way in a negative way for me. And there may have been instances I just didn't feel that way. I felt like for the most part it was an advantage. Like I felt like because I was tough and I was strong, but I knew how to play it, like it was a tool. It was a tool. I knew how to make him feel like I thought he was charming and great. And like I knew how to do that thing, but I knew how to put my foot down and make clear boundaries. And like I just felt like there wasn't many experiences where I thought, damn, you know, this is straight up sexist. This is misogynistic. This is unfair. I don't like really remember having those feelings. And I think in large part, it's probably because many of the industries that I gravitated towards, there was a lot of women in them.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe if I worked in corporate America, I'd be like, ooh, if I worked in finance. But like I worked in artistic creative industries that are filled with powerful women.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of examples around me that it wasn't possible. You know, like every show I worked on had female directors, female showrunners, female producers, like in every role all over the place. And so, and entrepreneurs.
They were like female interests, like fashion. And
yeah. So like it made sense that I was a woman.
Entertainment and
Yeah.
I see your children a lot in the background of your videos.
Yeah.
And I saw one video, I think it was in your Rocknut Diaries, where you said something that resonated with me a lot. There was just one thing where I think Blake, your daughter, was sick and the school called you.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is such a typical moment. My husband has this job where he can't leave. And I'm actually working too, but I can leave my work. I'm working for myself right now. I think you were in your warehouse.
Yep.
And of course you can leave.
Yes.
It's not convenient. It's not like anything, but you of course have to leave then because your husband, I don't know exactly what your husband does.
He's a police officer.
Yeah, okay. So I knew. Still, got it, right?
You did.
Yeah, but then there's no way that they call him and he's like, okay, I gotta go. Of course it's gonna be you. So you gotta go to school, you pick your child up, you go to the emergency room, whatever, hospital, get her checked. And then this other situation where Connor was sick, but you had to leave. And he was like, I almost cried watching this because I can so relate when something is with your child, everything else is like, doesn't matter. But then there are situations where you have to live your life. You had to go somewhere. You had a specific thing that you couldn't just say, like, I'm not doing this. The same thing as dads do this. But I was in the same situation. It was like, that's the same thing for me. Like, I'm a real estate agent, so I'm like flexible as you can be. My husband is not. He's a swimming coach. So if he is at the pool and he has like 30 kids in the water, he can't just leave because my daughter has a runny nose at school or whatever. But I can like do my appointments and stuff and like do it, like just fit it into my daughter's lifestyle.
Right.
And not in mine. But then also what I always feel is like, it's requested from me so much more from school, for example. It's this thing that they call me first without even knowing if I'm the person who is able to leave. But of course, the mom is the first person.
Always.
Or if there's a school thing, like, oh, there's this assembly, are you coming? And I say, oh, I can't, I have to work. I get the eye roll.
Oh, yeah.
My husband doesn't.
No.
If he has to go to work.
Oh, he gets major credit if he shows up.
Oh, my, exactly.
You get a like, did you bring the coffee for the teachers you were supposed to bring? He gets a like, oh, you're here. This is wonderful. Like all the kudos.
What a great dad.
A cheerleading squad shows up.
Yeah.
I know. I swear. Yeah.
And you said like it's difficult also because there's this resentment.
Yes.
And I have the same problem that I get mad at my husband for this kind of more like society is situation that we're in. It's not his fault that society is like that.
No.
Or is it?
Yeah. How do you guys handle that?
It's hard. This is a hard one. And it's a combination of many things. I think a lot of it has to do with each of our, meaning like you and I and our husbands, upbringing. and what was expected of the mother and the father. And so my parents had a pretty traditional situation. My mom worked, but my dad was the breadwinner. And my dad was the one who really supported the family. And so my mom had to be more flexible because her work was more fun money. My mom made this joke that it was click money, where she didn't like when she had to ask my dad for money, it made her feel weird. So she didn't like to have to click from his account to her account. So she wanted her own money so she didn't have to click. Was like the joke. So she would do just enough jobs that she had her own money. So she didn't feel weird. But she wasn't working in that way. And so that was the example that I saw. My mom did all the cooking. We had someone live in, help, because my parents both technically worked, but my mom did all of those things. My husband is 13 years older than me. And so even just generationally, that certainly was the case in his family. And his mom worked. She was a nurse, worked, but was of a different generation where she was expected to also do cooking, cleaning, all of the stuff, right? So we both came from that. We are now in a different time when it doesn't need to quite be like that, but there are still some of those old habits and old ideas. There are these moments where it gets harder, and the load of being a mom and also being a entrepreneur and a working mom, it comes to a head, and things feel like they become unmanageable. And it happens sometimes. And it's sort of one of those things where like it happens all at once, like you're fine and you're managing it all. And so you don't need help and you're good and it's good until all of the things happen at the same time and create this perfect storm, and you can't handle it all. And now suddenly there's no one to call. And like, that's really where I think it gets us, is like when you get behind the 8 ball and it starts getting ahead of you, there's no help to jump forward. And so you get further and further behind, and you start swimming harder and harder and harder and harder to catch up. And you're like, you feel like you're drowning. You're like, I'm on my own, And so, it's hard.
I see a lot in a lot of the videos where I'm just like, well, how's she doing this? There's like the speed up video, when you're cutting something or sewing something, and I see like the kids running in the background. Here's one, and you're like talking there, and you're talking there, and then you're back to your thing, and then you're talking there, and back to your thing. I was like, oh my God, like being a mother is a full-time job. I know lots of people don't see it like that, but it freaking is.
It is.
And then you have this other full-time job on top of it, which is like creating this video. And then you have a company, and then now you have a talk show that you do too. So now, like hearing from you that you grew up with this dad who like put this hustle and this work ethic in, makes total sense, because I always think sometimes like, why is she doing this to herself? This is so much that she's on. Now she's doing a talk show on top of it.
Yeah.
So let's get to Rock Knot.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. So I've been following you for, 10 years or so, watching your DIY videos.
Thank you.
Which are mostly what we just talked about, like making things unique.
Yes.
To yourself,
Absolutely.
to your style, to whatever speaks to you, to your style language that you also had for a while. Also creating things that you maybe can't afford. You see somewhere and like, oh, this looks so awesome, but this is like $1,200 for this boot.
Right.
I don't have this, but it's actually just this bow that it's on there. Can I do this myself in the color that I like and stuff? So DIY, it's called the DIY Designer, and you're not doing it anymore, but if anybody wants, there are a million videos out there. So if you did not see it yet, you have enough stuff to like make
forever.
For the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's very true.
So it doesn't really matter if you're still doing it or not. There is so much content, and it's all available on YouTube. DIY Designer, just look it up. You find something. It's for everybody. It's for people who sew, for people who don't sew. Then there was this one thing, you created this purse strap out of did you take that video down, by the way?
I did.
Okay, because I was searching for it and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Where you created
what's the video?
Like the strap that I made.
The purse strap made out of this sparkly rope.
Okay.
Where you did this specific knotting of it, weaving of it, whatever, and created this purse strap. and tell me if I'm telling the story wrong, but this is how I remember it. I remember that video when it came out. And then you said at some point that people were reaching out to you saying, I would like this purse strap, but I really don't want to
make it.
I don't want to make it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go downtown. I don't have a downtown. I don't live in LA.
Yes.
I don't have a fashion district where I can buy 60 feet of this sparkly
true.
like cord
Yeah.
thing. Can you make me one? Like, I'm going to pay you. Can you make me one?
Yeah.
And then
that's how it started. It started off as a video where I made a detachable purse strap that could transform any bag. So it didn't have to be that bag was the bag that you wore to the wedding. It was like, no, the strap goes on your diaper bag. It goes on your crossbody bag. It goes on a clutch. It goes on anything you want, and it transforms. And I was just wearing it in my regular life and was getting stopped everywhere I went. Like, enough to the point that my husband was like, this is insane. Like, this is bizarre. Like, this is a weird level of attention for something. And I just kept pulling up the video and being like, here, I teach you how to make it. Because I had 2 clothing lines before that did not do anything. So I was like, I am clearly not a designer. I'm meant to teach. Like, that's what I'm meant to do. And so I was like really resistant to starting anything. So I was like, no, it's just, you do it. And one of my sister's friends, I did a DIY night with a bunch of her girlfriends, and she goes to her kids go to like an amazing school with a lot of like really wealthy parents, powerful, intelligent, incredible people. And she did this DIY night for them, and I taught them all how to make one. And one of the women was like, listen, like, that was fun and all, but like, I'm literally never going to do that again. I want to buy one as a gift. So like, what's it going to cost? And I'm like, I don't sell them. She's like, what is it gonna cost? Like, just tell me. And she's
just make it.
Yeah. And she's like wealthy. So she's like, Orly, just like, what is it?
Yeah.
So I was like, ugh. I'm like thinking of a number because I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, $375 a strap. She's like, I'll take 11.
What?
I was like,
oh,
what's
okay.
that? She's like, I want to give them as I'm doing like a holiday party, and I wanted them to be like the party favors for the women that are coming. And I was like,
oh my God.
I'm sorry, what? So that little bit of money became the funding for Rock Knot.
That's so cool.
Because I was like, all of a sudden I had a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
And I was buying all the materials downtown, what was like readily available, and it was being imported, and I was buying it here. And so I started looking if I could buy the materials overseas and get that, more affordable.
Right.
And I was trying to find someone maybe here that could help me make them. I was making every single one by hand. And I started coming up with unique weaves, because the original weave was like very well known. It's like a cobra, like square knot, very well known. And I didn't want to make something that already existed. I wanted Rock Knot to be unique.
Yeah.
And have its own voice and have its own
who
vibe.
you are. Yeah.
Exactly. So I didn't want exactly that. I didn't want it to feel like anything else. And so I started creating my own weaves and was still hand making everything. And I put up like photos of them on a website and was like, they're there if anyone wants them. Like, I'll make them to size. And basically people could like say exactly how long they wanted it. And I was physically making it. So I ended up finding a manufacturer who not only sold the cording, but could make the straps.
How did you find them?
Dude, it's the funniest thing ever. So I went on Alibaba, which is like, wholesale product, stuff you can buy in overseas. And I am looking for rhinestone cording that I can buy instead of buying it downtown. And I see myself. I see me.
No.
From my Instagram wearing a strap. They're selling it. And
They're
I'm like,
already selling.
That's my face.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh,
so I send this message and I'm like, this is me. This is my intellectual property.
Yeah.
Like, you don't own this photo. You can't do this. Like, I'm not going to say anything about the product. Like, it's macrame. Like, I don't own the exclusive right to rhinestone macrame, but like, yo, that's my face.
You can't use my,
Like,
name, image, likeness, breach of contract.
Exactly. And I did not know that this is unique at the time. I now know it's very unique. He wrote back, I'm so sorry. Someone sent this to us to make it. We thought it was them, the person who sent it. We didn't know. I'm so sorry. We'll take it down right away. That's not normal.
No.
They're like, they either don't reply or they're like, prove it. Prove it to you. Like,
Fighters.
send us more photos to prove it to you. Like, and so they were like, you got it. No problem. So nice. And so then I'm like, I'm like all heated and I'm like, all right, well, thank you. Like, I didn't expect you to be so nice about it. So, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, but though, so you can make straps?
Did you just say you make
Hold on.
them? What do you mean?
Can you make what was in my photo?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And he showed all this other stuff that they made with like regular rope. And I was like, dude. So I was recording, I actually need to find them because like when I think about it now, it's a cool part of the story.
Yeah.
But I recorded video, almost like a YouTube video for them specifically, where I was like, hi, okay, so this is the next weave I want you to make. And I would show it and I would be like, if you do it too tight, you see how it looks like this? We don't want that. So if you do it too loose though, you see how it looks like this? We don't want that. It's gotta be just like this. And if you push it, it should move just a little bit. And and I would make them in all the different weaves and send them videos. And they would make them and send me samples. And that is still the factory that I work with in Guangzhou. And they are incredible. And truly, because they were willing to do such small quantities with me, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to them because they are the reason that I was able to grow Rock Knot into what it is, because the minimums were so low that if I had a cool idea, I could make it.
Yeah.
No problem, I could make it. I want to make 10 pieces? Cool. I mean, it was literally whatever I wanted, they did.
Yeah.
And they were willing to work. I'm obsessed with the quality. They were willing to work with me on like, listen, I'm not selling those. I'll pay for them, but that's trash. Like, don't send that to me. Just know I'm not going to like it. Charge me the material and make it again. Because like, I'm not going to sell that. I'm wasting money on shipping. Don't ship it to me if it's damaged. This is what it should look like. If the cord looks like that, don't make the strap. Don't pay your worker to physically hand weave a strap with cording that looks like that. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Charge me for the cording. Charge it to me and throw it away. Remake the cording. Like, and they've gotten to a place where they understand like what the quality has to be, what's acceptable, what's not. And they've been incredible. But it started by them using my photo and like selling it.
That is so wild.
Yeah, I did not know that part of the story. That is
right?
so funny.
Yeah. But it's and I think that's one of the things, like Rock Knot is another thing, like I said, that happened on accident. Not only did I not intend to start a new collection, I think the reason why Rock Knot worked when nothing else did is because, well, I think there's probably two reasons. One is my creativity really goes nuts because it is I'm put in such a small box. I've got to make something functional and versatile with rhinestone cording. Like, I can look around the room and see 70 things I could make right now. Whereas if you said, walk into this room and come up with 70 ideas, I got nothing.
Yeah.
But if you tell me, walk into this room and come up with 70 ideas using your Rock Knot cording for something that's functional, what do you got?
Yeah.
Like a million ideas come to my mind because it put me in a really small box. And I think that was the problem with clothing design was the box was wide open.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
And that was not good for me.
Yeah. Somebody needed to tell you, create this skirt for this occasion for this. And then you would have created probably 50 different ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You needed the frame.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that
Makes so much sense.
that was a really big part of it. And I think also the fact that it's an accessories brand naturally means that you're going to wear it and you're going to wear it your own way. And so the personalization, the customization is baked into it without me needing to do anything. What purse are you attaching it to? Instantly transform it. What's the outfit you're wearing it with? Where are you wearing it? Like, it is going to be different already. And so I think that it allowed me to really, really like lock in, and it's expanded so much beyond that. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of SKUs, which like I can't believe. Like, I have a full warehouse with hundreds of SKUs, and it's everything from jewelry to clothing to sweaters to instant buttons to, you know, phone products and multiple purse straps and handbags. And like, it has just really exploded, but it started with this one tiny thing, you know?
And with that one person that didn't want to do it themselves, like, thank God for these lazy women.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is the woman is best-selling author Eve Rodsky. And actually, as we were talking about motherhood, she wrote the book Fair Play. It's about the invisible load of motherhood. And the book is actually, if you've never read it, it's fascinating. And you can buy, it doesn't come with, but you can buy the version that comes with, and I recommend it, a deck of cards. And you divide up the household duties with a deck of cards between you and your partner to be not but
that.
fair.
Yes, I heard
It's called Fair Play. It's fascinating. And it's Eve who bought it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And Eve is incredibly successful. Her husband is incredibly successful. And it was their generosity that like was that moment for me where I'm like, Eve could buy anything. Eve could she could go to Gucci right now and just buy that for everybody. She wants this thing that I make? What?
And she doesn't have the time to do it herself.
Yeah.
But she has the money to pay for whatever.
Yeah. And so like, to me, that was really cool. And she's continued to be supportive. Like this year she did I make these horoscope necklaces that are an individual horoscope pendant that you choose when you buy the necklace. And she got like 15 of them for all of her friends with their individual zodiac signs for all of them. Like she's continued to be super supportive and she's amazing. But yeah, I mean, it was just that little perspective shift, seeing that she valued it made me like, wait a minute, you know?
I admire that so much. Like kind of throwing the rope back to help people and giving people an opportunity.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's an amazing woman. I mean, she really is. And she shows up for people like that. Like that's like nothing new for her. Anyone that knows her, it's like, oh yeah, that's Eve, you know, but it has such a lasting impact, you know, and it makes such a huge difference. So
it changed so much.
Truly. I mean, truly, it's, you know, I look at what Rocknot has become, and it's fulfilling all of these like childhood dreams that I had long put to bed, that I was just like, I'm just not meant to do that. Like, I love it, but like, it's just not, listen, it just didn't work, you know? And it's really, it's completely rewritten that story for me, you know, and it's given me like a real sense of success and ownership and pride over something that I think I just was like, well, that happens for other people.
When did this happen?
So Rocknot is now 3.5 years old.
Oh, it's still young.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have to go through a whole period with a learning curve of like how to make a business out of this idea?
I didn't. The beauty of it is I didn't know I was making a business. Like even when I started it, it was like a little cash. You know, like I did not, the first 6 months, the website was orlyshani.com because I owned the domain. So I was like, you know, I'll just put the straps up there. And like, it was just sitting on this website. Like, I don't know. And it wasn't, you know, after 6 months when I realized like there's an appetite for this and like people are buying this stuff, I came up with the name Rocknot and I built a separate website and I like really wanted to bring the price down so it was more affordable for more people and I wasn't making it anymore and all of that stuff. And I think the beauty of that is that you're tackling one thing at a time. I think had I known what Rocknot would become, I would have been too overwhelmed to start. Like when I think about where I am now, that's overwhelming. I would not have tackled it. I would have been like, I don't have the time. Oh my God, like what? No. Like when would I do this? When would I do this? When would I do like, so the fact that it happened slowly but surely, it was sort of like, it started off as a side hustle that filled the space in between TV appearances and YouTube videos and branded stuff on social media and all of this stuff. And it was this like little side hustle I was doing. And a combination of things happened. The busier it got, the more time I dedicated to it. But also I went through a personal thing that pulled me away from social media in a big way. And I had a void that gave me a lot of time to focus on something else where I could just put my head down and work. And I didn't have to be sparkly and happy and hey, and like do that whole thing anymore. And so all of the energy that was in all of those other endeavors got funneled into Rocknot. And, you know, and I still, like, I didn't go to business school. Yes, I'm the daughter of 2 entrepreneurs, but like, other than just seeing them be parents that were working, I didn't like work with them. I didn't learn it from that. It's just been my gut and common sense. What makes sense right now? What would be the best benefit right now? More sales. Okay, so I need to find an ads team. Like, how do I figure out an ads person? And then started looking for an ads person and met with a bunch of people that were like weird and I didn't like. And then I met one woman who I'm effing obsessed with, and she is incredible. And she scaled my business to a place that I cannot believe it exists at now. And she is unreal. And like, she was the only person who was, this is like one of those weird things, like know what you need, know what you want, know what you don't like, and don't apologize for it. When we were meeting, nothing is more annoying to me than a salesperson trying to sell their services to you that sends you their Calendly link. and says, book a time to talk with you. I don't want to book a time to talk with you. You're trying to get my business. Don't make me book a time to talk. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting a call with me to pitch me for 45 minutes. I don't have time for that. So I told her, I don't want to call. If you're not willing to like text or DM with me, I'm just not. She said, we can DM. She DM'd with me for probably a week and a half, answering every question I had. How much? What's the rate? What's the minimum? What's the this? How do you do this? Never forced me on a call. And I was like,
Yeah.
I love her. Like she got me. At that point, she got me. Because she was like, sure. No problem. I got it. You're busy. Cool. We'll DM.
Yeah.
And it was it was like incredible for me because everyone else was like, we don't do that.
That's
like,
so funny.
You can book a call with me.
Her not having a sales pitch was her sales pitch.
Exactly. She was amazing. She just answered the questions. And when I said, I don't have that budget right now for ad spend, could we do just this? And she's like, listen, we can. You do whatever you want. She goes, but I'm telling you, just know it's going to take us about a month and a half to get out of the learning phase because the ads take time to learn. The lower your ad spend, the longer it takes because it's impressions, right? So like, we're not going to learn really what's working for you, but that's fine. And I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
I can take a month and a half. What I can't do is spend $10,000 today.
Yeah.
So she's like, no problem. And so we did that. And we got a bunch of stuff that didn't work. They weren't converting. And it was me thinking what ads should look like. Cool photos and And I did a video from my floor in my bedroom with that necklace that you're wearing, showing how the reason the knot has no glue in it.
That's actually the bracelet.
Oh, yes, exactly. The bracelet version.
Yeah, I put it together here.
Oh, you're wearing the bracelet.
Yes, I'm wearing the bracelet.
Oh my God, genius. Okay, genius. So there's a necklace
two
version.
bracelets actually that attached.
There's a necklace version of that. And in the necklace version, which is different than actually what you have, because this does have glue, there's no glue in the knot. And I was showing the reason for that is if you want to wear it as a choker, this is what you're going to do. But if you want to lower it on the 5-inch extender and wear it at your collarbone, the knot is going to twist if you don't do this. And I showed how to do it. And I sent it to her. It was part of an Instagram story I was doing and it blew up. We like sold out of the necklace. It went nuts. And she's like, I think we just figured out what your thing is. I think you need to teach just like your YouTube videos. I think that's actually what works for you. Talk through. Why did you design it that way?
Full circle moment.
Yeah. How does it work? Why does it work? Talk it through. So all of a sudden it alleviated this need to do like photo shoots and get models and do all this stuff. It was like, throw up a camera in your backyard and talk about why you designed that. And it just boom, boom, boom. It just, everything started flying.
Wow.
And that was a really cool thing. So I was like, okay, now we've got real sales. I can't pack all these orders. So then it was like, what do I need? I need help packing orders. I need someone who can do that. Okay, now we're doing a large enough quantity. I need more units here. Well, I can't store that much in my guest house. I need a space.
A warehouse.
Now I need a warehouse. Now we're doing so much quantity. I can't take care of customer service. It's too much. What do I need? Now I need customer service. Like just at every moment, what is taking the most of your time that's pulling you away from the creative stuff that only you can do?
Yeah.
Like if I can pay someone to do customer service, I should, because what they can't do is design Rock Knot. What they can't do is market Rock Knot.
Right.
They can't do that. So like if I'm spending all my time on the computer changing shipping addresses and tracking UPS and doing all that stuff, and I don't have time for the rest, you're
going to run out of product.
Well, you're going to, I mean, you're doing a stupid job. Like that's not the job you should be doing. Other people who are capable and good at that job should do that job. You should do the job that only you can do. And so this year, 2025 was a huge year for me in figuring out those systems. Like in that video that you watched where I'm a mess and I'm crying and the kids are sick, that was the pivotal moment where it got to a place where all of the jobs are now full-time jobs. All of the jobs inside of Rock Knot that used to be an hour once a week are 8-hour-a-day jobs, all of them. And I'm doing them all. Right? I mean, I already had Sandra who packed the orders, but beyond that, I was doing everything. And I was like, it got to a point where I'm like, I can't. And so in the beginning of this year is when I did like, I hired a bunch of people and I did all the things. And like, I feel like I got my life back. And that's when I canceled. We were supposed to do this and I flaked. I flaked so hard to the point that I literally didn't want to open the email because I knew I fucked up and I couldn't come to terms with letting another thing slip through the cracks. There was so much. I wasn't showing up at school. And I was just like, like I was like when I saw like the email and I realized like I was supposed to be there today. Not like it's tomorrow I have to cancel. I was supposed to be there today. And I was like, I literally started like hyper. I was like, oh my God. Like I was.
No, we did not want to put that on.
I felt so bad. I felt so bad.
I mean, I can't even. But yeah.
Because like, it's so, and I know you probably didn't take it this way, but like this is another thing with my parents. Like, it is so disrespectful to think your time is more valuable than like someone who shows up chronically late is a problem for me.
For me
it's
too.
incredibly disrespectful.
I so agree.
To be a no-show, I was mortified. I mean, I felt, but at the moment, I literally was like, I can't even communicate apology. I need to crawl in a hole and die. Like I'm so overwhelmed. And it was just one of those things I couldn't even come to terms with what was going on in November, December of last year.
Yeah.
Like it was just madness.
In this case, it's good that we had social media because I had a little bit of a view into your life and I could see this is just not the right time right now.
Yeah.
It's like you can't make her drive an hour to do our podcast episode right now on top of everything else that's happening. So I totally get that she wasn't available.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys were very understanding and I really, because I needed a little bit of that grace that you gave me. So I really appreciate it. But that was a pivotal moment because I felt like what's happening now is I'm not showing up as the kind of person I want to be. So something has to change.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to be busy. It's okay to okay, fine. But like core parts of how I value myself and how I think I show up in this world are now being affected. Maybe we need a little switcheroo.
Yeah.
And so it was the thing that really prompted a huge amount of, changes and systems and things to allow me to now move into this new phase, which is a company that's gotten to a level, that's different than anything I've ever done before.
Yeah.
But
that's a great thing. We talked about that too once, that a lot of times when you have an idea, when you have a dream of doing something, you don't do it because you think you're not ready for it or you think you're not there yet. So if you, like you just said, if you would think, oh, I want to start a company like Rocknot, but oh my God, I need a warehouse, I need the people, I need this, I need a website and stuff. You don't even start it because it's too much and it's too expensive. Like I don't have the money for a warehouse. I don't have the money for all the products. I can't pay anybody to work for me right now because I don't have the money. So just starting it like that from like, or it started you. Like just it made you make it just because it just happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's bootstrapping it. Like there's a real benefit to that.
Yeah.
Because it happens one step at a time.
Yeah.
It's almost like I think about it like with kids. Like I remember when, like I said, my husband's older than me and I knew that I wasn't ready to have kids right when we got married. I wanted a couple of years. I remember telling him, I think 28. I'd like good to think about that. And I remember telling him, like, I would see women in New York City with strollers and screaming kids and holding so much shit. And they looked disheveled and they looked miserable. And I was like, I don't want to become that. And he was like, so don't. Like, we can do this however we want. There's no rules. Like, we get to be any kind of parents we want to be. And what I realized very quickly was that, like, I was looking at someone 8 years into it and thinking, how am I going to get there? How am I going to go from where I'm at now to there?
It's such a big jump.
That's too big.
Yeah.
But really what happens is you're just pregnant.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you got to do. You just got to be pregnant.
Yeah.
And then you have a baby and all you got to do is like get some sleep, feed them and change them.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. And then they crawl and all you got to do is make sure they don't choke on anything that's on the floor. That's all you got to do. Like it happens in these slow, manageable pieces until you're at a place where you have 10 and 11-year-old kids that have sports and weekends and things and all this stuff, but all the other stuff is gone. There's no more midnight feedings. There's no more worrying about chewing toys. With every new phase, one drops off.
Yeah.
And so you're only dealing with a finite amount of problems at any given time. And so I feel like that's sort of with business. Like if you think about all of the things all at once, it's too many. But if you think about just what you're starting, there's very few right away. And as more get added, other ones will be able to drop off out of your responsibility list. And so you always have this sort of finite amount, and it's this like ball that keeps rolling, you know, filled with different levels of responsibilities that drop off as they pick up a new one and drop off as they pick up a new one. And so it is more manageable when you tackle it that way, but you just have to not get distracted by the shiny, bright things that you think matter.
Right.
You know?
And where it should be. Like, oh, this company or this whatever thing I'm doing should be there by now. Why is it not?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. And I think it's easy because of the way that, you know, people can share their experiences and running their businesses on social media. We almost like hang on to different markers of success and what certain things look like. And some of those things are just so irrelevant. I have a girlfriend right now who is starting a new food company, and she's been really stressed about the packaging. And I'm like, babe, just buy stickers with your logo and put them on the jar. You are not there yet. You don't need custom packaging. Just put a sticker on your fucking jar. Like, I'm telling you, when I first did Rock Knot, they were plain linen bags I bought off Amazon. And I thought that was cool as hell, that the straps were going in a bag. Like, I had a bag. It wasn't just in a box. Like, how cool. I put stickers on the boxes because we didn't have custom boxes. Like, none of that stuff matters at the beginning. Like, don't get so caught up in that. Like, yes, it feels cool because visually it looks cool, but like, a sticker will do the job for now. Focus on the other stuff, you know? So I think it can be easy to get caught up. And
it's the same with this podcast. At the beginning when we started this podcast.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, we were like,
you always talk me back from the cliff.
And
Thank God.
And we want this set, and we need these chairs. Like, these chairs were here. The chairs that we're sitting in, they were here. But we, of course, had this idea of like, we want the set to look like this, and we want the shelves, and we want these books in it, and we want the chairs like this. And then we were like,
we want a sign.
Yeah, we want a big sign and stuff. And we need a website, whatever. And we're like, well, we don't actually have the money to do all these things.
Right.
But then not doing the podcast because we don't have the money for the chairs that we want would be so stupid. So we were like, why don't we just start?
Exactly.
Like, we found this studio here. We live in like walking distance to this, and
there's a whole kitchen over there.
Jonathan is so amazing. He's so fun to work with, and we're just like, okay, what do we have? Yeah, what do we need? Like, he has all the equipment that we need. We knew from the beginning we can't do this at home because we don't know all the like mics and all these things. Let's just do it somewhere where somebody knows what they're doing. And then he's like, well, I have these chairs. And we're like, well, we wanted beige ones, but well, they work. We consider them, you know, so let's just start with that. And maybe at some point we get where we can buy some new chairs, but that shouldn't stop us from like doing the thing at all.
No, because all of you listening right now don't know what chairs we're in anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, so true.
You don't care. They could be dazzling. They could be from a thrift store. Like, nobody cares. They're comfortable. And that's all that matters if we're sitting here for an hour talking. Yeah. Those things, it's easy because we're visual people, right? We're naturally visual people, and the visual can tell a story, and we want it to tell our story, and we want it to all feel like what we see in our head, and we want it to match, and we want you to get the vision, and I want you to feel like, I get it. And I'm like that too. But I think that can be the problem sometimes, is when your vision is so big, it prevents you from being okay with being at step one. Because you're somehow embarrassed because like, you know, the full vision. And so like step one's not that cool actually. Yeah. You know, and I think that was the blessing, is I didn't have a full vision. So I wasn't total
blessing.
Yeah. So step one was all that I thought. I thought step one is it. Yeah. It's gonna be this little side hustle for some cash. And like, how fun is that? Like, I didn't know it was step one. Yeah. And so I think for me that was a real benefit, because I 100% would have fallen into the same trap of being like, ooh,
that's too much.
Yeah, for sure.
And now you added another thing to your plate,
because I'm a sociopath.
It's not enough.
I know. Listen, I fully understand that I'm crazy. Yes. So I have wanted to do a talk show forever. Like, that has always been a dream of mine. I loved and still love doing DIY content and creating and teaching and showing up on camera and all of that stuff. But at a certain point, I felt like I wanted to move out of the transactional process of like, I create said DIY for you in order for you to come hang with me. I wanted you to just come hang with me. Like, I didn't want to do the other part of it. Because I feel like there's so much, like, even though it feels like from the outside that like style and fashion is my whole life, it's like 4% of what I care about. Like, it's cool and all, but like it's not that cool. Like, you know, I'm like, there's a lot of other stuff I care about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I kind of just want to be able to be like me and show up and talk, and let's talk about food and beauty and humor, and let's talk about good books. Like, let's just talk about all the things that are fun and interesting and creative. And I'd been wanting to do it forever, but I knew I needed a co-host. I did not want to do it by myself. And so I just kind of had it in the back of my mind and, you know, was thinking on it and stuff. And then I went to a party for a mom at my kid's school, who I love. She's awesome. And there was a mom there that I'd never met. It's like absolutely stunning, tall, redhead Texan. I'm like, who is this?
Fun.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Who are you? Like, I know all these moms. I'm like, what's this tall drink of water over here? So I go over and I'm start talking to her. She's charming as hell, so freaking funny. She's an entrepreneur. She has this awesome brand called Skimpies. We start talking and I'm like, who is this? Like, this person's awesome. And so I had an idea, still something we want to do for another show. And I thought she'd be perfect. And what's funny is, you know, when you're like little kid and you want to be my friend?
Yeah.
Like, and you can just like say that. Well, we didn't know how to say that to each other. So she shopped on Rocknot. That's how she told me. So she bought a bunch of stuff on Rocknot.
Oh, cute.
And then I hand delivered it to her, and that's how I told her.
Yeah.
So then I went to her house and I was like, oh, I'll just like bring it to you.
Oh,
and then
that's what I do with everybody.
Yeah, I always do that. Like, my girlfriend's like, can you bring it? I'm like, just buy it. I'll give you a shipping code. I don't have time. But with her, I'm like, I'll deliver it. What's your address? So I show up at her house and we stand in her entryway and we're just talking. And I started sharing with her this idea because she now runs this business, but she was an actress. She was a comedy writer. She wrote her own show that she successfully sold to Netflix. It ended up not getting made, but like, she's really creative. She's really funny. She was a writer on Funny or Die, worked for Will Ferrell, like, just awesome. And so we're talking and I was like, I have this idea for a show. I feel like you would be amazing. And like, we could find 3 or 4 other women and like put this thing together. She was super into the idea. And I started reaching out to a couple of friends of mine that were executive producers on different projects. And I started pitching the idea. And we got a little bit of like, people aren't really into that right now. And they might not like this and might not like this. And it kind of just like died on the vine. And one of them wrote, though, while I don't think the idea is good, what a fun duo you and Bet are. Her name's Bet Bentley. What a fun duo you and Bet are. And all of a sudden I was like, what if we're just a duo? Like, what if we don't do this whole ensemble thing? What if it's just us? And so I told her this idea that I'd been wanting to do this kind of talk show, and it would be interviews, but I want content in there, kind of like pulling the best from the internet. Like, if we can't have guests come into the kitchen, maybe we pull like a video they just posted and feature it and try it and cook it, whatever. And she loved the idea. And a friend of mine was a producer for Red Table Talk and Rachel Ray and this other show I worked on called Home and Family. And I called him and asked if he was interested to like come on and be our EP. And he was interested. And then we shot 8 episodes of this show like over the last 2 months. And we just did them in our houses. Same thing. Like, the goal is to sell it, get it on Hulu, get it on Amazon. But like, for right now, we're going to upload it to YouTube, and it's filmed in our houses, like in our living rooms. And like, that's what we did. And it's fun. And we got great people. And so and this was a thing too, that like another example of know your limits and don't get too overwhelmed. Bet and I were both feeling very overwhelmed by the idea of adding on this new weekly thing. Like, how are we going to shoot a weekly show? How are we going to do this? Like, whoa. And we were both feeling very overwhelmed. And so we had a call and I was like, what if we just shoot like a season 1? And like release season 1 and like market, edit, do it, promote it, one finite amount of episodes, and then see what we can do for season 2, as opposed to perpetually have an episode every week, which I don't think that we can do.
It's
and
overwhelming.
So it took such a load off, the idea that it was this finite amount of time. And so we shot 8. And then we're going to edit them now, and we're going to try like, let's pitch it here. Let's pitch it here. Like, let's put it on YouTube, but let's see what we can do and get into a studio and have a kitchen and have guests and have people come in and create like an old school afternoon talk show.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And I mean, that's the beauty of YouTube too.
Exactly.
You just put it out there.
You just put it out there.
You just do it and you put it out there.
Exactly. And like, it's okay if it doesn't get the views, because if there's something there, like we can work with that. You know what I mean? Like we can work with that. We can find a producer that might want to get on board. We can find a brand that wants to sponsor it. Like we can do something with it if it's good. And so we're in the editing phase now and kind of, you know, seeing what's there and, you know, what it needs and what it's going to become.
Do you know when you're going to publish the first
Our goal was April, but again, with our executive producer, my favorite line is he's like, listen, this is the No Stress Express. Like, let's just, April's the goal.
Beautiful.
If that doesn't work, that doesn't work. Like, we don't want to like constantly push things because otherwise you never do anything.
Yeah.
But if it's really not working, we give it another week. Like, we're not beholden to anyone. No one's waiting on it.
Yeah.
It's us. We put it out when it's ready. So
true.
Yeah. So I think that's fun. And that's something that I'm excited about, having like cool conversations. And, you know, same with Rock Knot Diaries. Like that's a vlog that follows the behind the scenes of running Rock Knot and my life and juggling motherhood and you know, entrepreneurship and all that stuff. And like, that's another one. Like I get to show up as me. There's no transaction. There's no anything. Like this is what went on this week. This is what's going on. And I get to just put that together and share it. And it's becoming, just like the title, like it's becoming a diary of my growth and my progress. And when I edit something that happened 2 weeks ago and I get this like newfound perspective 2 weeks later, I'm like I'm learning so much. And it's like, it's really very cool. I didn't anticipate the therapeutic part of it.
It's almost for you more than anything. And you have a good diary in the end, like in like 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whatever.
Exactly.
See, kids, what I did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was like my manager. He was like, you know, this is going to be really cool. He's very supportive. And he's like, listen, when you sell Rock Knot for $100 million, it's going to be very cool to see it go from your dining room table to that. Like, that's going to be cool. You're going to love having all that. And I'm like, I am. It's a lot of work right now, but I'm going to love it. I'm going to be so happy that they're sitting there in weekly increments. Like, how cool, you know? So
it's the same with kids. It's a lot of work right now, but someday you're going to be happy you have them.
Yeah, someday. Yep, exactly.
Still waiting for that day.
You're still waiting for that day, right? Yeah. I just started watching Gilmore Girls with my daughter.
You know what? That's one I never got into, but I heard a bunch of people like a resurgence of it.
That day came where I was like, and it was all worth it.
I'm watching it
now
with you.
I can watch Gilmore Girls with my daughter. It's like a freaking dream.
How old is she?
10.
10.
Yeah, she's just there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, my daughter's 9, my son is 11. So I'm like right in that same.
9 would have not worked with her. I don't know. She's such an awesome kid, by the way. Like what I see on Insta. I mean, I don't know her, but what I see on Insta,
she's exactly like she seems.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's magic.
So cool.
She is. She's a really like magical person. She's really emotional and really intuitive and really funny and like wise. She's like a little older. She seems a little older, like all her friends. She's like sometimes feel out of place because she's like, I don't laugh. Like they laugh when someone falls. She's like, who laughs at that? You know, and I'm like, well, when you're a little kid. She's like, yeah, but I'm a little kid. And I was like, I know, but your like sense of humor is better.
Yeah.
Like, you're funnier. Like you have a funny sense of humor, not like a little kid sense of humor.
Yeah.
So she's just, sometimes she says things and I'm like, where the hell did you hear that? Like, and she didn't hear it anywhere. It's like from her brain, but she has these like, she's very cool. I mean, both kids they're so different and they're so, you know, this age to me so far has been the funnest.
Yeah.
Because they're old enough now that like, it feels like you're reaping all the benefits of like the work you did.
Yeah.
Teaching them to be this way and respectful and kind and thoughtful and all these things. And you're like seeing them as their own people now, reflecting back to you the traits and the qualities that are important.
With them where you all of a sudden feel like they get it now.
Big conversations.
They understand exactly what I mean. Like 2 years ago, I was trying it and she nodded her head, but I know she didn't get it. And now I can see in her face that it clicked. Kind of like, such a difference.
Yeah. And no, it's beautiful when it gets to that place. So it's been really fun.
Yeah.
They're at a fun age. I've always been with motherhood in a weird way. I have very low expectations for myself. Like And I feel like that could sound, I don't know what that sounds like, but like my goal is to make them happy, healthy, independent people. And that's really it. So like, I don't get caught up in any of the other stuff. I don't care about any of it. And because those are my only goals, every situation gets funneled through that. And that's the only thing I care about. Something happens at school that's tough. I know exactly the conversation I want to have with them because how is this going to affect them when they're 30 and they're at a job and the same dynamic plays itself out? How do we want to prepare them for that? Like, that's it. So like, I don't really care about anything else. And same with like the moms and same with the whatever. Like, I feel like I'm a little removed from all of it because my focus is so simple with them that I'm like, it's actually not that hard. Do they have food in the fridge? Are they where they need to be on time? And do they have the tools to manage all of these little life lessons that are preparing them to become adults? I mean, that's really it. They don't need a scholarship. They don't need to do piano and speak Mandarin. Like, they don't need any of that.
Yeah.
These are the very simple things that they need. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's sometimes a little bit difficult when you have like all these other people around you, maybe especially in LA or so, where all the people speak Mandarin and play the violin and do this and you do this. And you're like, my daughter has 2 hobbies a week.
Yeah.
Not 15.
Yep.
And I'm the same way. I'm like, I also want you to be bored once in a while because that's when you're creative.
100%.
Every time she says I'm bored, I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
That's the best state to be in. Lay on the floor, look on the ceiling, come up with something.
Exactly.
Like, you need to be bored
to
come up with anything. If I just constantly put you in this hamster wheel, then you're not become a thinker or a creative person, or because you don't have time for that.
No, and if you can't, you can't compare to everybody else. You can't get caught up in that. It is a losing battle no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's like you just lock in to what matters to you, your husband, your core unit, and you focus on that. And you just ignore all the noise. It's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you're chasing after someone else's set of priorities constantly. And when those change and that's not cool anymore, you're abandoning them and moving on to the next. Like, you got to just like know who you are, know what matters to you, lock into that, and then just be like, F off to the rest. Oh my God.
Amen.
That's a good
This is
statement
my girl.
to finish. F off to the rest.
We're making t-shirts.
Exactly right. We kind of have to wrap it up, unfortunately. Speaking of children, because I'm the one who has to pick up the child, even though I'm working right now.
Look at you.
You know?
Oh.
My husband is at a swim meet, so of course he can't.
Well, see.
But I can. You know? As
Can
always.
in
I
air quotes.
can. I can make it happen.
Yep.
I feel you.
And you too. You had to
Yep.
send a text for some practice for the child to like, yep,
We're all good.
that's what we do.
Exactly.
That's how we do it. Well, it was such a fun
It was so good.
conversation with you.
Thank
I
you
could
for
have
having
talked
me.
2 hours longer, but
I know. You are such a breath of fresh air. You're so unique. I love that you're like a contrarian. I think that's your superpower. I think you're just such an inspiration. I hope people took away some empowerment
Thank you.
hearing your story. And yeah, thank you so much for giving us the
My
time.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for letting me.
and where
Reschedule.
can we find everything? So
Yeah.
Rocknot?
Rocknot.com, ROCKNOT. My YouTube channel, you can still find it at the DIY Designer, but the title changed to Orly's channel because now I'm doing Rocknot Diaries
Oh,
and
okay.
the YouTube,
Okay.
the new show, which will be called Orly and Bet. And social is just at Orly Shani is like the place where all the things kind of funnel through.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
So
I
great.
I never get stopped for anything as often as for my purse straps. It's the same thing as you said in the
Yeah,
beginning when you
yeah.
made it for yourself. Everywhere I go, like, oh my God, like in the supermarket, at the bar, whatever, like, what is this purse? I'm like, well, it's actually, that's the strap. It's called Rocknot. You can go on the website. Like, I should have, I told my husband the other day, or he said that even when we were sitting in the bar and this woman was next to me, like just looking at it. And then we were talking, and she's like, "It's so nice of you that you share. A lot of people just want to keep all their things to themselves." And I'm like, "No, why would I? Like, I love this product, and I love the woman who makes them. So, like, please buy." So I showed her, like, on her phone how it's spelled, and this is the website. And if you
need to make the coupon code.
I know. I have a coupon code.
Use it.
I need to make some cards, though. I said I need some like business cards to like hand out where like the website is on and the coupon code.
You can do that because you either get cash, you get 2 times the amount in store credit, and then you just get a bunch of free stuff from Rocknot.
Yeah, I should really.
That's why that whole thing started, because people had that experience. They were being stopped regularly wherever they go, and they were sharing it. And I was like, if people are going to be kind enough to share it, they should make some money off of it. And so we made these codes. So it gives a discount to the person receiving the code, and it gives the same amount in cash to the person who gave out the code, or you can get 2 times that amount in store credit.
I would do that.
Yeah, people always do. People always end up doing it. They save it up, and then I give them
a list of things that I need.
Yeah, we send them the email, and we're like, it's either this in cash or this in store credit, and they're like, store credit. And like they go, it's awesome. No, that is it makes me so happy. But that's really, I think, why it's grown, is that it makes people feel so confident, because they're constantly getting complimented, and that's such a good feeling. Like it's such a beautiful feeling when someone goes out of their way to stop you and say they like what you're wearing or they love your shoes. Like, it's so validating. And so I think that's why people end up building collections, because like that feeling is contagious, and they're like, well, I want one for like each outfit and each color and each occasion, and so I think that's why it's done what it's done, is because that experience is fortunately not unique.
I think my code is just Sarah Murphy, but I have to look it up. It's in an email. Yeah. I gave it out a few times, but every time I had to look it up, I have the worst memory. So I think
we're moms.
There's no space in there. Yeah. I think I just need to make some cards with like the website on it, so people know how it's spelled, where to find it, and then amazing. My code, and then my code, and it's like here. Yeah, I know. You're like, yes.
I love it.
Here.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed listening to Orly's story.
It was fun.
That was so fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
She's so fun.
She's great. She's a firecracker. Mm-hmm. I love that she was vulnerable about mind parasites, like the imposter syndrome, and how we all feel sometimes like we don't belong somewhere. And you look at somebody like her who you feel like she's on the other side of success and she's made it. And even she was like, no, I felt that too.
I had the microphone on the Oscar red carpet, and I felt like I didn't belong there. I'm like, wait, what? I mean, I watched her.
How could you? Like, you're Orly.
I never thought for 1 second she was questioning anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also the professional side of her, that she doesn't show it, of course. But yeah, that is so interesting.
I think it's just a universal thing we as women feel, and we just need to know we all feel this. We all go through this, and it's okay.
Yeah.
We need to lift each other up, support each other.
That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Lifting each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's so interesting that she doesn't really have many stories where she doesn't have any stories where she said, oh, that was difficult for me because I'm a woman or something. It's just, but all the other people we talked to so far, and some that are coming up, some interviews, had so much trouble with men in the workplace.
Yeah.
And she didn't seem to, we also said she was in very female interest, female dominated areas. She hosted like around fashion and around entertainment.
Her industry has probably a higher proportion of female than
she wasn't trying to be
other
a host.
Industries.
Yeah, she wasn't trying to be a host at a football game.
Yeah,
she would have probably ran into some male dominance there, like in the fields that she were. But also saying out loud, no, I didn't have that, and that's now nice. It's not that we're searching for it. It's really refreshing that somebody says that and says, no, I didn't have that problem.
Because we need to share those stories too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then, the tip with the car, from her dad, and setting up a...
I'm doing that with my child.
If I have the money to buy her a car when she's 16.
We got to get there first.
I better start saving something now. 6 years are going to be over quick.
Stop.
Right? Oh my God.
Take that back. That's in 6 years.
Yeah, yours in 8, but mine in 6.
No, they're not allowed to drive ever.
She asked me the other day when she can have her first boyfriend.
No. What'd you say?
I don't even, what did I say? I was like, I think I said something about, well, it depends a little bit what you want to do with him. Kind of like, I mean, you can hold hands with somebody and call him your boyfriend in kindergarten. You know, they do that.
Yeah.
Like,
that's cute though.
That's very cute. When do you think? It's like,
do you want to know what my dad
a saying
did?
in that? I don't think I will have a saying in that much longer, but
yeah, no. Don't do what my dad did.
What did your dad do?
My dad had an application when,
No.
It was kind of a joke, but it was kind of to make a point. And it was an application with all these questions. Like, do
For
you
the
have,
boy?
yes, when he came over to pick me or my sisters up to go on a date. Do you own a minivan or do you drive a minivan? Do you have a criminal record? Is there a mattress in the back of your pickup truck? Like all these things. What's your GPA? Like all these things.
Oh my
And he would
God.
just stand over these poor kids when they're like filling it out because they thought it was serious.
And did anybody
And he
pass
never
or
said
not
no,
pass?
no. He made a joke of it
Okay.
at the end, but it was kind of one of those like, I'm just kidding, son.
But
you
I'm
know,
not.
where you're like, oh my God, I'm terrified of you.
I would have killed my dad if he would
Yeah.
have done something like
Yeah.
Oh my
Thankfully, he wasn't there like, cleaning his guns and stuff while they were filling out the application. I guess that's, when
That would've
you're
been
a
the
dad of
next
3
step.
girls, yeah, you
That's
get kind
true.
of crazy.
My dad only had 1 girl. Okay, that was it for today.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like, share, send us questions if you have any. Comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have a wonderful day. Bye.